Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to discuss the new open source models from OpenAI, the GPT-OSS models. This one, the 120B, and also the 20B. And I'm going to show you how you can use these open source models with Hugging Face, with Python code and the API, but I'm going to try to make it easy to understand. And you can get beautiful output like this. For example, I had asked, I believe, this model, I asked it, tell me how to learn Spanish effectively and how to become fluent within 2 to 3 years. And it gave a very comprehensive answer. And I think these models are super smart and really amazing. And as I mentioned, these are from OpenAI. And what's really amazing is that I believe one of their LLM models, GPT-2, came out in 2019. So it's been quite a long time since they've released a powerful LLM as open source. They release other open source things, but very recently these came out, and I think within a few days GPT-5 came out. So a lot of big changes have been happening. So anyway, I'm going to show you in this video using some Python code. For the most part, you don't really need to understand it other than being able to change basically one line and change the prompt. You should be able to use the code as is, just editing as I tell you. And I'm going to try to make this as useful as possible. And basically, this is the kind of code that we'll go over. And then you can choose the model. I'll describe that. And then you'll enter in a custom prompt. For example, I said how to learn Latin effectively. You can enter whatever prompt you want. And with this code, you can interact with these open source models and get the output. And I'm going to describe this. So I'll try to make this video as useful as possible. Okay, so for the first thing is that to use these models on Hugging Face, first you're going to want to make an account on Hugging Face. And it's pretty easy. Just go to the website, and it might be at this link /join, but you'll need to make an account. And once you do, you'll be able to get API keys. So if you don't already have an account, please make an account with Hugging Face. Otherwise, you won't be able to use their API. And then to use the models on Hugging Face, first you need to know the model page. So for example, here on Hugging Face, this is they're trending models, but you see here these are two of the most popular ones, and also Quen and some other ones. This is a model I was hoping to try eventually. But anyway, you'll find the model page. And I put the model page in here, and I'll include the code for you in this video. And these are the links to these two models, the OSS-120B and OSS-20B. Okay, and what this says is the 120B has 117 billion parameters with 5.1 billion active parameters. And the 20B one has 21 billion parameters with 3.6 billion active parameters. And in my experience, generally the higher the number of parameters, the better the output, although not always, but that's the general situation. But I do think both these models are quite good. So this one will be a bit smaller, and this one would be larger, but this one is probably more powerful. But the good news is we're going to use the API, so we don't need a powerful computer to run this. We just need to use the API. Okay, so after you've made an account and you know the model page, then what you're going to do is for any given page, what you're going to do here, if you want to use the API, is you're going to click on Deploy and then click on Inference Providers, like here. And this code here is going to, this is the basic code to be able to use this. And this is Python code, this is JavaScript, this is curl. I use Python, that's what I'm going to use in this video, but you can use JavaScript if you want instead. And we're going to use the Hugging Face hub, but actually we're going to use this OpenAI. So there's different styles of interacting with the code. I'm going to use this OpenAI one, but if you prefer to use the Hugging Face hub package, you can use that. It doesn't really matter, but you'll use this one. And the main thing is that we're going to need to have a token, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. So you'll copy this code, and this code is basically what I copied here, except I broke it up a little bit. It has this client code here. And you see this is the client code, and then I printed it below, and then this is importing some packages basically. Okay, and once you have the code, like the code would look something like this, and then we're going to get an API key, and this is important because you can't run without the API key. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this and then go to access tokens, and then what you're going to do is click on create new token, and you can look into this permission if you're interested. I'm just going to use read permissions, and you can give it any name you want, but I'm just going to call it example token. And I'll just make this for this video, and I'll delete this token after I'm done with the video. But this is a token that you might see, for example, this one here. And by the way, if you have if you just made an account, so you have a free account, the token should work a few times, maybe 5 times or something like that. And eventually it's going to ask you to get a paid account, but at least we can try it out a few times before. So I just copied the token, and what I'm going to do is see here. See, this is the token, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the token into my code. So I called it Hugging Face. I'm going to copy this line here. I called it Hugging Face key, like this. And you can just follow along with the code. I'll include the code in the video. So and this is the second method to add your token. I'll discuss this later, but the first method is directly having it in Python code like this. And this is, I think, a more secure way, so where this token is not exposed directly in Python, or at least you can't see it. It wouldn't be like this. It would basically be interacting with the environment variables, and that's how I would get it. So this probably is a more secure way. But anyway, so this first way, we just copied the token, and we'll go back here. So we copied the token, and now we have the API key, and then we're going to, for example, this is an example token. I think that's a different token, and this should have been deleted already, or it's a fake token, but that was just an example. And then, yeah, so let's run through this code. So now that we have a token, I'm going to clear everything. So I'm going to restart and clear all output. And this is a Jupyter Notebook, but I'm going to show you later some Python code. This is very similar Python code, except this is just a .py file, and it's slightly different, but this is the more efficient way to run the code. Using Jupyter Notebook, this is more for like presentation, but anyway, so I'm going to show you. So I just restarted and run it like that, and then you've made an account at Hugging Face. You've got your API key, and here I just added the key in Python. And the steps, again, you would, oh yeah, I forgot to mention too, again, for when you're copying, when you want to get the model, for example, for this one, 20B, you would go to inference, and then you got to make sure that you copy this model exactly. For example, if it's GPT-OSS-20B, it's going to be using this provider, Fireworks AI, or it could be Novita. I think I used Novita. You've got different options. I think I used Novita. Yeah, so I used Novita. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure that when you're getting the code, you know which So basically, this one and then knowing the token are basically the only two things you really need to know. And okay, so you can just follow me along, or you could just use the same code as me and just edit the key. Okay, so we're going to try out the 120B Novita. I'll enter here. And then I just made some code to make a custom prompt. So for example, I have something to test the quality of AI models, describe the process of photosynthesis in plants. I have this file called, let's see here, it's called just custom prompt. And I'm just going to put this as teach me to learn Latin. Excuse me, I'm going to change this. Okay, I was editing in a file that was read-only, so that was the reason I couldn't type that. Okay, so what I have here is this code, and I'm putting in this custom prompt. But actually, to make it easier, what I'll do is I'll just put the custom prompt like this, prompt equals, and later I'll show you editing this. I think it'll make it easier just to show it like this. So I have the custom prompt here, and I'll just paste it. It says describe the process of photosynthesis in plants. And then later, probably a better way is to have a text file, and you can just edit the text file so we don't have to edit this every time. And so this is the prompt, describe the process of photosynthesis in plants. The model we chose is the GPT-OSS-120B, and it's using Novita. And then finally, what we're going to do is run the code. So this is going to use the key that we have. It's going to send it to Hugging Face, and it's going to use this prompt basically. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get output, and I'll print out the output. So this might take a few seconds. Generally, it was pretty fast before, and let's see how long it's going to take here. Okay, it's taking a little bit longer than I thought it would. Okay, I'll pause it and come back when it's done. Okay, it didn't take that long actually. I think it probably only took 10 to 15 seconds, which is not too long. And it was using the bigger model, and it gave this output. And I have this code to write the output to a file. So I'll do that right now, and I'll open up the file. Okay, so I'm going to open up the file now. Here we have the output. I called it LLM output. I'll reload it. And you see here it says photosynthesis, a step-by-step overview. Okay, that's fantastic. So it gives the output as Markdown. And then we're going to use this website, markdown2html.com. I'm going to paste it like this. I'm going to copy this. And then let's say I'm going to put this in here. Photosynthesis. And it's probably much better to use something like OnlyOffice or this, Google Docs, and you can see it formatted better, converting the Markdown to HTML. And let's just read this first part. Photosynthesis is the way green plants and many algae and bacteria capture light energy and convert it into chemical energy stored in sugars. So I think that's a great answer. And it gives 5 whole pages, which I think is fantastic. or 4 pages plus, almost 5 pages. And quick summary, so it gives a very comprehensive answer of what photosynthesis is. And let's call this 120 using the 120 model. Now let's ask the same question, but this time let's just change the model to using the OSS-20B. So one of the great things about programming is that if you make code efficiently, you can just change one line or change very little, and you can rerun it and basically get a whole new output. Okay, so like this, I'll just rerun it for you here manually. So we have the same key, but now we're going to use a different model, the same prompt, and I'm going to run this again. And I don't know how long this will take, but I'll pause it and come back when it's done. Okay, so the 20B actually was much faster than the 120B. And let's see the output for here. So it says photosynthesis, the step-by-step overview. And let's write it to output as well. So it would have overwritten this. And you can see this is a different output. And let's convert this to HTML. And let's put this as photosynthesis 20 to be for 20B. So it gives almost 3 pages of output compared to the almost 5 pages of output for 120B. But the 20B was much faster. So like I said before, usually the number of parameters goes up. Usually the output is better, but also it often means it's slower and takes more computational power. This one, it seems to be much faster. So let's look at the output here. So I asked it, again, the question was, describe the process of photosynthesis in plants. And this one gives the output of, it is the biochemical process by which green plants, algae, and some bacteria convert light energy from the sun into chemical energy stored in organic molecules, mostly sugars. And yeah, I think this gives a really great output. Okay, and now let's modify this slightly. And now what I'm going to do is, before I mentioned that this is manually enters the prompt, but this is probably a very inefficient way to have to manually edit this every time. Like if you wanted to put another, you could put it like that, but that's, I think, very inefficient. It's probably much better to read it in from a file. So what this does is it's going to have a file called customprompt.txt, and we'll be able to play that. So for example, let's ask it, teach me how to play golf. I am a beginner. So let's say you are a beginner at golf. I'm going to save that here. And by the way, that file is in the same folder as that. So what I'm going to do now is we'll use the same model as before, the smaller one. And now let's have the prompt be this. Teach me how to play golf. I am a beginner. And now let's run this output because I think the 20B was pretty fast. And let's see how long that's going to take. So it's already done now. That's fantastic. And did it write to output? Okay, let's have it write to output. And now let's have it, let's convert the markdown to HTML. And now let's say golf 20B. So this is the output for the 20B model. When I say 20B, I'm referring to this one, OSS-20B. And it says here, below is a practical beginner-friendly roadmap that'll get you playing a full round of golf in no time. Feel free to skim or deep dive into sections that interest you. So it teaches you about different clubs. You've got the 1 wood, 3 wood, 5 iron, wedge, putter, and so on. Golf balls, tees, clothing. So yeah, this is really cool. It gives 7 pages of output and it only took like, I don't know, 5 seconds, definitely less than 10 seconds. So this is, yeah. And again, the thing that really I like very much about this is that this is open source. GPT-5 is not open source, at least as of now. Okay, and now let's do one more thing here. Instead of using the 20B, now let's use the 120B, and let's do the same prompt. So we're going to do the golf prompt. I'll run all this code because the 120B is a little slower. I'll come back, I'll run this, and I'll come back when it's done. Okay, the 120B actually was really fast. And now I'm going to show you this output. So notice here it's different text than the other one. See here, this says welcome to the green. That was from 20B. Now we're going to put in the 120B. Beginner's Guide to Playing Golf, and we'll call it Golf 120B. Okay, so golf is a sport that blends skill, strategy, and a fair amount of patience. If you've never stepped onto a green before, this quick guide will walk you through the essentials, what you need, the basic layout of a round, fundamental swings, and the etiquette that keeps the game running smoothly. So it talks about clubs, and it gives kind of a similar answer, but it's still a different answer. So I think this is quite good. Now, I personally don't play golf hardly ever. I don't really play golf really ever, but I think this is a very comprehensive answer. And I like that it gives a typical day at the course. Yeah, this is kind of true. I mean, I used to be a caddy, and this kind of seems realistic. Yeah, that seems pretty realistic. And it talks about common mistakes beginners make: overswinging, poor balance, losing lift and distance, inaccuracy, too much power. Okay, that's a great answer. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to show you, hopefully this will work, that remember I said before, this is sort of the easy way is to put the key directly in the file. And if you're just working with yourself, that should be fine. But if you're going to interact with other people with the code, or you want to be more secure, probably this is a more secure way to use environment variables. And for example, if you're using Linux, you could in a bash shell type something like this: export hf_token, or put it in .bashrc file. Okay, put this in the .bashrc file, or put something like that, and you would put your actual key there. Now let's use the environment variable. I've already done this before, so hopefully it should be available. Okay, so I'm using a different key now. It should be one of from another account. And now let's see. Okay, now let's use the faster model 20B. And I'm going to ask it a different question now. Let's say, for example, teach me how to learn Portuguese within 3 years. How to learn Portuguese and be fluent within 3 years. So I'd be curious to know what it thinks how to become fluent in Portuguese. And I'm going to ask this, and I'll come back when it's done. Okay, I think it took less than 10 seconds, although I didn't actually time it. And then here it gives a road to fluency map for Portuguese. And I'm going to write that to the output. And I'll reload this now. And then I'll copy this output to Markdown to HTML. And let's see what it looks like. I said Portuguese 120B. And let's see what it says here. Below is a road to fluency handbook. You can print out, keep in your planner, or copy into a note-taking app. 3 years is approximately, say, almost 1,100 days. A realistic target for a motivated adult if you spend roughly 1.5 to 2 hours a day. Okay, that's a lot of study time, honestly. But let's see, practice the language, the simple grammar, and let's see here. 3 hours a day. Oh boy, that's it seems difficult, especially if you have a full-time job and lots of other things. Okay, quick tips for the long game. Never stop speaking. Celebrate micro wins. Keep a cultural journal. Join a Brazilian or Portuguese community. Play games. And teach someone else. All right, I think that's quite a good answer. And then now let's ask the same question, but let's do it with, oh, that was with 20B. Okay, 120B will probably give a more comprehensive answer. I'll come back when it's done. I think it took more than 15 seconds, but let's see, it might have given a very comprehensive output. And I'm gonna copy this markdown to HTML, and I just edited this. So the last one was actually using 20B, and we'll put this one in here. Oh wow, it gave 11 pages of output just within even 15 seconds. That's incredible. I am truly blown away here. Okay, it says below is a step-by-step 3-year roadmap that'll take you from zero Portuguese to confident fluency. So a C1 or C2 level. If you follow the daily habits and milestones it outlines, it's organized in 4 phases, each with a clear focus, recommended resources, a weekly hour budget, and concrete checkpoints. Feel free to adjust the exact hours to match the time you can devote each day, but try to keep the minimum of, let's say, 30 minutes a day and at least 2 hours of exposure. Okay, so at least 30 minutes of active study and at least 2 hours of exposure. So I don't know what that means, just listening to videos online or the radio. This actually seems like quite a lot of effort. Honestly, this to me would seem like if you go to just a language school, this seems difficult. Okay, so typically weekly, you spend about 8 hours, 5 to 8 hours a week. Okay, so this basically is as you build up your foundations from beginner to, so this is after 2 years, and then this is 3 years. You're spending about 14 hours a week, 12 to 14 hours a week. It's a lot of time, but 1.5 hours a day. Oh boy, that's a lot. Let's see if I think it gives interesting answer. So it says it's not a sprint. The 3-year timeline is realistic if you commit to daily exposure, even if it's just a short podcast while commuting. Balance input and output. Okay. And I don't know Portuguese. I just know some Spanish, but I think this says something like have a good journey. Have a good journey studying Portuguese. So what I wanted to say is that, yeah, this really is quite good. So now I've just shown you in Jupyter Notebook. Now I want us to graduate to Python, just the Python file. And I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so this is basically the same code as before, except now it's just in a Python file and it's not just for presentation. With this, I'll be able to more easily run the files. And basically what I'm going to do is run a file like this. For teaching Hugging Face. Yeah. So I would run a model like, I would run the code like this. Let's clear this here. So I would run the code something like this. But first I want to show you here. So I have this code and basically you can run all this code and not really have to change much at all, except just change the model. And you would change the, for example, here you would change the token. If you want to run it, if you don't want to deal with environment variables, you could deal like this. Let's say, for example, let's copy the environment variable, not the environment. Let's copy the token we had earlier, this token. So for example, we can have this token, and what this code does is it imports some packages. Don't really need this one. This one I set up to have a custom name for the file, but that doesn't matter so much. This is the most important package to use because that's what I set up with Hugging Face. So we have the key, and here we're going to choose the model. If you don't want this model, you can change to the 120B or use a different model. If you don't want to use one of these, you can use this. The method is very similar to change models on the Hugging Face. And then we have the custom prompt. This opens the custom prompt, but here we're not going to print it because it's not really needed. Now we just kind of assume that we know, okay, we know we're going to change this. Say, teach me how to learn data science, for example, within 2 years to become an expert. I'm curious to know what this will say. So let's say that you want to learn data science and become an expert within 2 years. I want to know what it has to say. And then this code is basically the same code as the other one. See here, more or less it's the same code. I just did a lot of copy and paste. And this code here, it gives a custom name. But honestly, I don't want to confuse you. That's something I used for myself because I like it to, this basically what it would have is it would have the date in it, and it would put the model name in it, and but for the purpose of this video, you can edit this later if you're so interested. I'm just going to have it have the same output name, LLM output. So here again, it's basically the same. But now I want to show you how to run it in Python. So this is going to run the how to learn data science within 2 years, basically using the 20B model. And let's run this and see what happens. Okay, so I had it print out the I think I had it print out the output. Yeah, so it printed out the output to the command, to the console. But what's more useful is that it's actually written to the file as well. So here, for example, it says 20 to 25 hours per week, continuous practice, real-world projects. Expert can mean many things. Okay, so let's copy the output. I'm going to put this in here and then copy it to, and that was the 20B model. Okay, and it says, oh well, so it just gave a 6 pages. I think that's quite good. 20 to 25 hours per week. So that's, if you're just working 5 hours per week, that's 5 hours a day. That's a lot. So foundations, math and programming basics, statistical inference and classical machine learning, deep learning, big data, real world impact, internship or full-time role or freelance gigs, publish paper, blog series, teach or mentor. So I'm sort of in this phase right now. But I think that this is quite a good answer. Yeah, so I think building some atomic goal setting and habit building. Let's see here. So calculus, linear algebra, probability, Khan Academy. My gosh, you could use this to sort of have your own master's degree. I mean, not actually have the degree, but at least you have the knowledge. Data wrangling, Python, statistics, deep learning, big data, machine learning, operations, data visualization. So yeah, learning to use Matplotlib and Seaborn and Plotly are all pretty good. And Tableau. So I think this is a very great answer. And just to be fair, what I want to do is I want to ask the same question to 120B. So I'm going to comment this out and go to 120B. And I'm going to run this code now. And I'll come back when it's done. Okay, so it finally finished. And this was a bit slow, honestly. This took more than 30 seconds. But let's see the output. So again, this was from the 120B model. I'm going to copy it into Markdown to HTML. And let's get this. So we'll call it Data Science 120B. Wow, it gave 16 pages. Oh my goodness. 16 pages in 30 seconds. That's incredible. So it says, below is a step-by-step 2-year roadmap that take you from no background to a level where you can comfortably call yourself a data science expert. Churn the date. So you have 3-month blocks. Each quarter has a focus, deliverables, recommended resource. Active learning first. Build something every week. Theory is essential, but you retain it only when you apply it. That's fantastic. This is incredible. This is so true. Portfolio first mindset. Every project you finish goes into a public GitHub personal site. Recruiters and collaborators judge you by what you've built, not by the courses you've watched. Iterate and specialize. After the first year, you have a solid generalist foundation. Second year, you can do deep dives. So honestly, this is an incredible thing. So both of them gave incredible output. Okay, so I've now shown you the code, and I want to review for this video. So again, to use these models on Hugging Face, or really almost any LLM model, not all models, but probably most of the big models on Hugging Face, the LLMs, first you need to make an account. And I did want to show you just because this could change. So generally just make an account like almost any other site, and you'll probably need to verify an email. And then you're going to go to one of these models, the model pages, and actually you can just use the code that I gave you. But if you don't want to for some reason, you can go to inference providers, and this gives you example code, and you can choose the provider and the language, or you can just go with their default. And the main thing is that you're going to need to have the token. So you can put the token like I have, or use an environment variable. And just as a final thing here, so I showed you copying it directly in this Python code, but probably a more proper way, especially if you're using it with other people, is you can use an environment variable like this, or if you put it on the internet, if you don't want to expose your key, I'm going to delete this key so it doesn't matter, but this is probably the more proper way. And I think I've already shown you in Jupyter Notebook this, so I won't rerun it. Okay, so going back here. So again, you're going to get the code like I showed you. This is similar code. And then you're going to get an API key. Again, it's going to look something like this. I made a token, but you can make a new token and you can give it whatever name you want. Let's say example token 2. And I would recommend use read permissions, but if for some reason you want to choose others, you can, or you can even choose write, but probably read is good. You can create token and then you'll copy it. And to review the code that I made, so this code, what it does, this has the essential packages. This is the most important one, and also this one if you're going to use the environment variable. Going to copy the API key, and you could choose one way, which is this, or you can use the environment variable like that. It doesn't matter so much, but if you don't want it, if you're going to put it on the internet, this is probably more secure to use an environment variable. But if only you're going to ever use it, the first way is fine. And then here you'll have the model name, and again, like from here, you get the code. Make sure you get the model name exactly. It'll change based on the provider. So I used, honestly, I don't remember. I think I used Novita. Here, there's Novita, but there's other ones. Make sure you choose the right model name. So the main things you need to know are two things. One is the key, and then next is the model name. And then you can basically use the code just like I had. If you don't want to use a custom prompt text file, you can set it up like this. You can manually edit this, and I said, for example, describe the process of photosynthesis. You can change that, but you probably, especially again, if you're going to be using this a lot, it's far better to use it as a text file. So for example, here, I have the custom prompt, and then I changed this several times. I asked it how to get fluent in Portuguese. I think I showed you how to get fluent in Spanish or Latin. And again, I asked it about photosynthesis. I asked it about golf. So, and if you do, just make sure you have a file called custom prompt, and you would edit that, and then make sure it's in the same folder as this code. And then let's see here. And then we have the prompt. This is the code that actually sends it to the API in Hugging Face, and this might take a few seconds. Generally, the faster one is going to be the GPT-20B. It's a smaller model. The 120B, when I asked it about data science, it took more than 30 seconds, I believe. So it was a little bit slow, but it gave incredible output. So this model, again, is probably more powerful, might give better answers, but probably takes longer. This one's probably a little bit faster, but honestly, I think both of them are excellent. And again, as a review, both of these 120B and 20B are open source LLMs, and I think they're the first open source LLMs that OpenAI has released since GPT-2, which came out in 2019, so it's been quite a while. OpenAI has released other great open source software, but I don't think they've released LLMs since these. So again, and then you'll have this code. And lastly, again here, let's say that you have the prompt, and then this will send it to the prompt, and this will actually get what the actual LLM output is, which is, to me, this is the most useful. It might give you a lot of information, but this is the one that's the most useful, the actual output. And then here I printed the output, but printing the output isn't that useful because I'd rather save it in a text file. And what this does is it saves it to a file called llm_output.md, which is right here. And then this is actually a markdown file. And what you can do is you can go to convert a markdown to HTML. And then what you can do again is you can copy that output and use something like a Google Doc or use only Office output. And then you can paste it into here. And again, this is the data science output, but we've got output for golf, photosynthesis, learning Latin, learning Portuguese, and so on. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a video for how to use the new models GPT-OSS-120B and GPT-OSS-20B using Hugging Face. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked, please subscribe to or follow my channel, and see you in the next one. Thank you.